Welcome to the BOPTMN podcast. My conversation today is with Brian Moussally. Brian and I met by chance years ago when I worked at the Sea Dog. His family came in for a banquet. At the time, we had maybe a 10-15 minute little conversation, but I remember thinking at the time, him and I have a lot in common. And fast forward now that I've started this podcast, I've started thinking of guests. I'm like, ooh, Brian might be an interesting guest. So I looked him up online, found out he had done some pretty impressive Spartan races, 30-mile obstacle, 36-mile obstacle race. And I reached out to him and he was more than willing to try this out with me. And him and I had a great little conversation here about his prep in the race, what the races were like, some of the things he asked me about, some of the races I'm doing, some talk about life and positivity. It was a really good conversation. It's one I hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening.
I'm sure once you get more, under your belt and stuff,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No,
Oh, I know.
Who knows when I'll actually start it?
That's fine. Yeah.
But I think I think I want to just let anyone that might watch us know how we even know each other. Which is we kind of know each other.
I know.
So
I know.
Dee and I were just talking about it. I think it's got to be like 7-8 years ago when we met each other at the Sea Dog.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I was teaching and kind of part-time doing banquets in Sea Dog, and you had a banquet for
Marcello. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we happened to just. I remember we talked maybe 10-15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember thinking, oh, he kind of thinks like I do, exercise-wise.
Yeah.
We were talking. I think I was doing a triathlon. At the
You
time.
were. Yeah.
And then over the years since then, I've seen you running here
Sure.
and there. And,
Yeah.
and maybe run into each other with Hannaford or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. No.
And,
yeah. And then I saw you after. Was it the Tri for the Y at Sea Dogs? I saw you there one time too. I could have sworn I saw you after a triathlon.
I don't think I've done any local.
All right, maybe that I miss.
But
yeah, probably.
But so there was a point where so my cousin kind of inspired me on starting a podcast, and kind of him and I kind of been on this physical journey recently, and he said to me at one point, there aren't many people that think like us that go out and exercise all the time and stay in shape, and it's kind of a unique thing, and it kind of occurred to me that it is kind of unique what we're doing. And then when I started thinking about podcast guests, because of our little conversation that day, you kind of popped in my mind.
Yeah,
and I think I happened to see you running, and I'm like, oh, I should reach out to him. So I was gonna ask you what it's like to get a complete text out of the blue from somebody, and what you remember from kind of meeting. And
I mean, I remember, obviously, I remember meeting you just from living down here, and your daughter, and and stuff like that. And when you had sent me the text, I knew who you were. Like it came to my mind. I was like, then you sent me the info on like the podcast, and I'm I'm gonna do it. I've never been asked to do a podcast before, but there was a part of me that felt bad because COVID. I mean, I still exercise quite a bit, but not as extensively as I used to. Right. I've been stuck at home a lot, which isn't an excuse, you know. I just did the Millinocket half, whatever, just to get through it. But I was like, geez, I'm not at the level I was 6 years ago, but I still take it pretty seriously. So if anything, I was more open to do it, you know, because I think it's definitely like, a mindset, and I beat myself up like quite a bit about it. I'm like, no, I can't do that tonight, or I can't have that, and even and I rationalize things, right? I'm like, oh, maybe tonight I can, because I'll be at the gym tomorrow morning, and it's. So to answer your question, I was more than willing to do it, because I think during COVID and as we get older, and just everything, with our kids, like our society has taken just a complete shift.
Right.
I mean, there's people that COVID's been great for their exercise and well-being, and there's been other people where it's been horrible. We see it. We're all Zoom fatigued out, and we see everyone on camera, and how to keep people motivated during that time when you didn't have access to gyms. And they're not like you and I. They won't just go run outside when it's freezing cold, That doesn't bother me at all. We started doing something at my work where I was teaching a fitness class, and it was it was hard because I've never done something like that before. And it was my version of the Les Mills body attack.
Right.
Can't
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that class because it's theirs, but it was a very similar version, and I had to stay inside like this little like it was awkward, but it was motivating for me because it was people like you that I've never really met before in my
Right.
company,
Right.
and they're logging on,
That's awesome.
and then I got a
So you're
chance.
doing it from home, like video?
Yeah, I was doing it. I was doing it right from home every Tuesday morning. You had to practice getting the sound right, mounting the laptop right. Is the music okay? Can you hear my mic okay? Like, does this? And are people really going to get into
Right.
it? And we've had a few live meetings, obviously, over the couple of years since COVID, and it was rewarding for me when people were, like, you're crazy. That class was like insane, and so now we'll go to meetings, and before we go out to dinner, we'll actually do a small little workup
Right.
class, and so that's just different time. We could probably talk forever, but it's different times for sure.
Yeah.
How do you stick with it?
That's a really good question. Actually, something I was gonna kind of
Yeah.
part of. So, I've been thinking about like what motivates me,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm like, I think longevity and health,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
want to be. My grandparents are both pretty healthy. When I
Mhm.
was a kid, and I want to be hiking
Sure.
with my grandkids or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But that doesn't enter my. But I've been thinking about it. Like that doesn't enter my mind when I'm getting up in the morning. I
Mhm.
don't want to run, but I go out and run anyways.
Sure.
And I'm not even sure what that is. Like I
Yeah.
haven't been able to like. What do I have that other people don't? I almost think it's. I've been doing it for so long and so often. It just if I don't do it, I don't feel like myself.
Mhm.
Like I don't feel.
The endorphins are not there.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know I do
Guilt.
know the days when I don't want to run the most, the days when I don't want to exercise the most, and I do it. Those are I feel the best afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I know that there's that connection there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I haven't been able to put a finger on what it is. What do you? I mean, what do you?
I think it's a combination of everything. Like I'm currently right now trying to get back to a certain place, and I think for me it's like the guilt factor. It's like if I put on like the weight or and I feel it's like guilty, I'm like I need to do something about this.
Right.
I'm like I don't. Where the average person, they would look at us and you guys are fine. What are you talking about? But we know when we're off balance,
Right.
and we don't like that feeling. And maybe it's a certain expectation because we've always been at that level.
Mm-hmm.
And I know inside for me, it's a thing that people don't know. But it's like when I don't feel good about myself, I'm like, are people looking at me like that? Like, am I fat? Well, it's my own like little
Right,
things,
right.
Maybe a touch of OCD there, but. I think it's like all the above. Like you've lived a certain lifestyle for so long, and you want to continue that lifestyle. And for me, it's almost like you're expected to be that person in the class. You're expected to be, because I'm really into group fitness, so you're expected to be the one that's kind of outpacing and going faster and doing this and doing that. Where to the average John Doe, it's just Brian, it's just bad. They can do it. They can do it. Well, we're not in our 20s anymore,
Right.
And we're competing against 20 years old, and it's years of abuse on the body, and it's like sometimes I don't want to say it's tough shoes to fill, but it's like it's high expectations all the time.
Right.
It's completely high,
Yeah.
and that's a lot. It is. You had mentioned the. That Spartan Ultra or something, you said that an article came up. That was the first time in my life I had a genuine fear of failing something.
I so want to get into that big time. Before we do, I want to.
Yeah.
Because I have lots of questions. on
Yeah.
that. But I gotta tell you, so I have this little story. I'm like, so I had a crazy incident a week ago, a week and a half ago, and I gotta tell you about it.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
please.
there's no other place I'll fit this in. I'm like, let's just get this over with.
Yeah.
So I go out. It was a week ago from Tuesday. -6 degrees, 5 a.m. I'm out on my run. I'm going up the hill here.
Yeah.
And I get hit in the back. Literally 5 a.m. in the morning. And it felt like, I mean, the best way I could describe it is if a buddy from high school saw me in the mall.
And just like
it was like, give me a little,
okay.
just to surprise me. I was like, what was that? I turn around and there's a dog on my arm. On my arm.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, so I draw, like, just reaction. I hit it.
Yeah.
I think the motion of, like, swinging, hitting, I twist. My hand comes out. And it's immediately coming back at me. And I kick it in the chest. And it's coming back at me. And there's a flurry of activity. And somehow I got his collar. I don't know how I got his collar.
Holy.
So I got this collar, and I'm like, how? Whose dog is this? And then this guy comes running out of his driveway, and I'm like, I'm pissed. I'm like, you're
right to
you're an effing dog. Just
rip
the crap out of my arm.
Right.
I'm like, he comes and grabs the dog. He's like, he goes, come with me. We'll go into the house. I'm like, I need a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I need a minute. So
I got you.
he goes back in the house, and then I realized it's a state trooper's dog. It's a canine.
Oh, no kidding. But even so, that's
So
even worse.
Right.
Even
It's
worse.
Funny, Evan and Kaylin's boyfriend Evan and I were talking afterwards. He's like, man, he goes, now you fought a trained dog, you'll do pretty good against him.
Right.
A non-trained dog.
Right.
So I follow him into the house. We go in. I've got like so many layers on.
Yeah.
We're trying to get down, and we gave. I got
God.
my stitches out 2 days ago, but this is a pretty open wound here, right? And he was a class act. He drove me. He's like, I'll drive you to the hospital. What do you need?
Yeah.
And it turned out all right in the end. Luckily the layers. I think my headlamp was bright enough that it blinded the dog, so somehow he didn't see my hand coming.
Okay.
To grab his collar.
Yeah.
Because I think in the daylight I wouldn't have a chance getting a hand by him.
Wow.
So this whole incident just happened. You were gonna come last Friday, and we just had the two big storms back to back.
Yeah.
And I had that happen. And now today feels like spring.
Right.
I was in such a different headspace last week, and I don't think it would have been a bad one.
Yeah.
But I'm sure on your run. I mean, how many times it was silent.
Mm-hmm.
That's what creeped me out the most.
Yeah.
There was no bark. Even when he was coming at me, there was no bark.
That's crazy.
It was just silent.
Mm-hmm.
He was just. Once I got his collar, he kind of chilled out, and after talking to the officer, he's like, he's kind of doing what he's been trained to do. Like, it's not.
Yeah, but why was he loose? Like,
right,
why was he?
Right. So the officer was telling me, he's like, he shouldn't have been loose.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
He's like, the dog stays outside. He has an outside pen, but when it's negative degrees, they bring him in the house.
Yeah.
So it was a cold morning, and the dog doesn't come into the house unless he has permission. So the dog was sitting waiting for permission. He turned to open the door, looked back, and the dog was gone. And that just happened to be the moment I'm running by. He sees me. You would think the dog would need a command to go after.
That's
something.
what I would think. So if he's just sitting there and a young child runs by.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. So yeah, and I mean,
not that they would be running by at 5 o'clock in the morning, but just
no,
that's what they're
absolutely.
trained to do. But a random individual,
absolutely gone through my head.
Yeah.
And but I've done a lot of training with dogs over the years, and and dogs are never 100%.
Mm-hmm.
You have to kind of like almost plan for them not.
Yeah.
So I'm the 1% time, and I happen to be clothed up and look like what he's used to training on, and for whatever reason, and then it ended up having to be a mandatory reporting thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, we went and they've taken care of me. It's all good. I got no issues, and like I said, the officer was a class act.
Yeah.
But if it was a kid, if it was my wife, if it was my daughter,
probably anybody else other than you, because you're in such great shape, you're able to have that knee-jerk reaction. You're able to, if that was the average, it would have been bad.
If I didn't have my headlamp on, I mean, he'd be on my. If I was in a t-shirt, my arm would be shredded.
Yeah. I mean, that could have took a completely different turn.
Right.
You're lucky. Holy cow.
And I've been thinking about like dogs. So I did a little research on like, what do you do in a dog attack? And they're like, get a stick and try to keep it away. And if you have a jacket, you can kind of like almost like a matador thing. And if they get a hold of you, go for the eyes. But I'm like, man, I think most dogs bark at you.
Yeah.
They'll chase you off the.
Right.
I think they just want you to. Right. Know that they are, alert their owners, and somebody's here, and they're not looking to chase you. But I've had a couple couple where I was like, is this going to be an incident? It never has been until this.
Yeah.
But the silence of it
Mm-hmm.
in the dark was so a little assassin out of nowhere.
Yeah. No, that's funny. Well, I'm glad you're, it could have been a lot. It could have been a lot worse. No, I've never been attacked, but I definitely have had my fair share. Shut that off. Sorry about that. I definitely had my fair share of, this is a little freaky, and like, is this, and not only with animals, with humans. Like, when I was traveling, like, quite a bit, I would, stay at certain hotels where I would know the run routes and, somewhat know the run routes. And then I remember this one particular route, Manchester, New Hampshire, right on the water there. And I'm like, let me just go a little bit more. I would kind of just judge by daylight. And then, so as I'm running deeper into this park, I'm like, it's getting sketchier and sketchier. It's like, the sun starts setting and the people start coming out. And I'm like, all right, I don't like this. I'm kind of getting like, freaked out. And then I'm looking up ahead. I see some tents pull. I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. And so I just turned around and run back. But I'm like, oh man, I'm like, this is freaking me out, And it's shame on me for not knowing the area that well. But I'm like, it's like one of those things. It's like a Central Park, nice during the day, but at night, completely different ball game.
I love getting out and exploring too.
Yeah,
Like that. For me, that's kind of the fun. I had almost the same. We were in Vegas for work, and I was just running, and I run the strip, and I kind of I get just outside the strip, and all of a sudden, like 4 or 5 individuals appeared out of nowhere from this gas station and started walking towards me. It was just like, and they didn't look like they had good intent. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna turn and go back the other way.
Yeah. No, I've had my experiences running in Vegas on the strip too. That's been just insane. Like,
you see all kinds of
you see all kinds of things. Yeah, I've been hit on, women, men. I'm just like, it's 5:30 in the morning, and I'm running with my friend. Like, what's to say she's not my girlfriend or something? Or I'm like, craziness. Yeah, craziness. But no, never. Knock on wood, I've never been attacked or by an animal or even a human for that matter, or jumped or anything like that.
I had a bear incident right up here.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Why you were living here?
Yeah. Nellie's Corner Store.
Yep.
Take a right, literally 20 yards down. I hear roar, and then I turn and look as I'm crossing the road. Don't even remember crossing the road.
God.
And I see 4 cubs running up the tree. I remember thinking, wow, they're running up the tree faster than I can run horizontally. And I looked down the tree, and Mama Bear's at the base of the tree. And I just kind of like slowly backed up and watched her, and she watched me until I was out of sight.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Holy
this
cow.
And that was like 2 or 3 years ago.
How big was the bear?
I talked to a friend that's a hunter, and she was saying, Mama Bear, it was early in the spring, probably about 150 pounds.
Okay.
Pretty thin, just coming out of hibernation. But
yeah. But still, it's a bear.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt that
they
would handle me pretty easy. I'm glad I wasn't between. Yeah. The things. I mean, I guess if you're out there running.
I mean, that's a black bear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, black bear. I think with black bear, I think they say kind of just stand your ground, and I forget which one is which, whether it's a black or brown. There's one that you're supposed to just stand your ground, or just, and then there's other ones where you don't do anything.
Some make noises.
Yeah.
I don't know what the right thing to. I mean, when you're in the moment too, like
knee jerk. You want to get out of there.
right. Yeah. And then there was one other thing that just made me think of. I was running earlier this. I guess it was early in the winter, and I heard a coyote howl. I'm like, oh, is that a dog or a coyote? And the next thing I know, the other side of the road lit up with just responses.
Oh.
Not eyes, but like all howling. Like it sounded like hundreds of them. I'm like, huh.
Wow.
You're reminded of, we are kind of in the woods here.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not.
Wow. I've had one experience here, and I swear to this, the only possible animal I can think of is like the largest fisher cat I've ever seen in my life. And it was like an ongoing joke when I was coaching like football, because I had never been so freaked out. All of a sudden, I'm like, what the heck? Like, I was like, oh my gosh. And it was right down here. out of nowhere. I'm like, look, and it's just like looking at me, and I'm just like looking at. I'm like, I've never seen anything like that in my life, and I was doing all kinds of research. We do have fisher cats around here, you know, but this was like, I don't know what it was. I call it an oversized fisher cat because it was huge, but I was like, who knows what's lurking out there, you know? It's like,
there's a beaver that jumps me in the summer.
Yeah.
He'll whack his tail in the water as I run by and jumps me every time.
Oh, that's funny.
He's kind of scary.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. When I used to jog in this road when I was living down here all the time, I used to, there's certain times of the year I used to just hate like the horse flies, and just cause like ping, ping, ping. And it was always a certain stretch. I'm like, here we go. Yeah. Oh, wow, that's funny. Yeah.
So
I'm glad you were right.
I had to tell you my little story.
Yeah. No.
I want to talk to you about your stuff, but I'm like, I gotta squeeze this stupid thing.
You're lucky. You're lucky. You're okay. You know, it's it happened. So there's a couple, and they don't live there anymore. His name's Skip, and his wife is Teresa. She used to be a nurse practitioner over at St. Joe's, and he was telling me a similar story about there was a loose dog. The dog didn't do anything, but kept on approaching him, and he just like stood his ground, like, somebody get your dog. They didn't attack, but it's like, man, you just.
That is one thing I read that. And who knows? I mean, I just Googled it and read the first 3 or 4 articles that came up. So who knows how accurate it is. But they said you shouldn't talk nice, and you shouldn't try to talk a lot. You should actually be quiet. Because talking nice kind of almost rewards them, and talking aggressive might make them more aggressive.
Sure.
They recommended kind of like standing in a stance kind of with your hands up so you can protect yourself.
Right.
But it also non-aggressive kind of looking stance.
Sure.
And then
finding that happy medium wherever it may be, and the dog like walks away or
the
something.
Sneaker company I wear, I sent them a little, it's just kind of a little startup company that the shoes I wear, and I sent them a review after the incident. I'm like, they were great for my maneuverability and my kicks, but they didn't offer much impact.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
So you did. So let's start getting into your. So you've done some other races leading up to your, what was the Spartan?
Yeah, Spartan Ultra.
You've done some other.
Yeah.
So what got you into that?
Yeah. So.
Talk me through that path.
Yeah. So. Obviously, first thing was running. You know, half marathons, 5Ks, things like that, all around.
Okay,
like
I'll stop you.
Yeah.
So tell me about your first marathon. Was it just? Do you remember your first marathon?
Yeah.
So mine was pain. Mine was misery. Like I fell apart.
Really?
Did you just? How'd that go for you?
I was training for a while for it, so I was like absolutely well prepared, and this is years after doing so many halves, like sprint triathlons,
right.
And so that's not a big deal. It was the Spartan Ultra that was, like I said, even though, you know, it was a rough time in my life. I had just gotten divorced, couldn't always get out there as much as I had to. But to get back to your question, what was I was going to do an Ironman. I walk into my buddy's office one day, and he's on the computer, you know, he's a doctor. He's like, you ever hear about this? I go, well, what is it? He goes, Spartan? I don't know, what is it? And then I would try anything, you know, and he's showing me all these different options. I go, yeah, let's do it.
But you'd done some obstacle course kind of like...
Prior to that, no.
Okay, so that was your first...
No, so the first one that we did was a half, which was 13 point whatever miles. They can always range from like 13 to 16 depending on the distance and how they set up the course. And that first year we did it, gosh, this is...
Oh, so you'd done some of the shorter distances to lead up to the 30.
The first one that I did was the half. And it was the championship at Killington that year. And we had no idea. Had absolutely no idea what we...
Were you thinking it's kind of more like the Tough Mudders, kind of like a fun...
I wasn't thinking any of it because I've never done one before. We just happened to choose one of the most aggressive ones.
Right. Because I've seen the Tough Mudders and things like that, and they haven't... They look like fun to me.
Yeah.
But it's like... I've noticed that I've been drawn to things where I have... I mean, you mentioned it before. I'm gravitating to things that I have a 50-50 shot on.
Sure.
Am I gonna... You know... if it's easy for me,
Yeah.
and and you see some pretty heavy people finishing in Tough Mudder.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
That's not exactly what I'm trying to push myself.
Right. Right.
And I had no idea that until I saw your article on the Spartan, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like,
yeah.
how hard this. So yeah. So
the most difficult event in my life, absolutely, for sure.
So this first one you're not properly trained.
So this first one I'm not properly trained. I mean, I was still going to the gym a lot, and I was running, and we were doing a lot of halves, and so I mean I was okay. I mean I was physically fit to do it. Just like right now, you could get out there, and there's no doubt that you could do it. You're physically fit. You could do it. The muscle memory's there. May not be a phenomenal time, but you could do it. The ultra, yeah, and then just year after year, we just did. There was a group of us actually at the gym at the time, Union Street Athletics. We had our own kind of Spartan racing team. We had our own obstacle course outside the gym, and we would train just constantly, and then.
So let's talk about that first one.
Yeah.
So you get done it, and are you immediately addicted? Or are you like, that was crazy?
Oh, I loved it immediately. Like I loved it. The problem that I had, I would do these things with various people, is that I know that I can't do it with somebody else. At least not at that time. And my goal was to stay with my friend and his brother, and that didn't pan out, because first of all, yeah, just go ahead and meet us. And so I come around and I ask his wife, I'm like, have you seen them? Where are they? I'm like over here. They should be at, and they're just like, go. Like we haven't seen. They're like, just go. So I'm like, okay, I know now that I have to run on my own. Which, I mean, for me, that's fine. Where people had a goal to be able to keep up with me.
Right.
I had a goal to let them not catch me. It was, I had.
Right.
I had a goal, and I had the time, I was divorced, and you know how much time it takes. You're out there for hours and hours and hours, and I'm like, it kept me focused. And I did another Spartan race, and they're like, back then.
So let me ask you.
Yeah.
Building up to that next one, how do you adapt your training now that you've experienced it?
Yeah.
Because I'm very interested in how you even train for one of these.
Yeah, so luckily there's a good group of instructors at the gym at the time, and there was a bunch of people that were just starting to get into this.
Mm-hmm.
So hence why they did a mini obstacle course.
I remember when they first built that thing.
Yeah.
Just before they built it, Dee and I were going to Union Street for a little while.
Okay.
Which I loved.
Yeah.
It was just a little while away from here.
Yeah, no, I get it. I completely
get it.
But
I love their spin classes and with the Les Miles.
Yeah.
The
body pump and body attack and combat and
all
that
those
stuff.
classes.
Yeah,
I was like, sign me up for all.
Yep.
I'd do one, jump in the spin, do another. And, but
that was a huge part of it. So you do 2 or 3 classes, then you hit outside, or you hit pads and you do boxing with someone, and the instructors really took a liking to it and would research how to train for an obstacle course race. So I don't recall which night, I don't know, say it was a Wednesday or a Thursday night after we're done with class, we all go outside and they're like, okay, start with 20 bucket carries with 5, back and forth, start with this, start with that.
Right.
And they would help train us. But for me, my mindset, do whatever I can wherever possible. And I would be at the gym early in the morning or late at night. Some of the instructors would be like, okay, leave this for Brian before he leaves. Before you leave, and they were integral in helping me succeed. Before you leave, you need to go do X amount of laps, X amount of burpees, climb the rope X amount of times. They were helping me prepare, because I got an email saying that you're at that time you had to qualify and stuff like that. That you could run ultra elite. You could easily do it based on your time. Not easily complete it.
Right.
It had a 26% finish rate. But they're like, you could do it. And then I'm like, all right, game on. And the funny thing is, I almost backed out. Yeah. I felt just a tremendous amount of pressure.
How close to the race are we talking?
I mean, probably a month before, I'm like, I can't do this. I've gotten in like 4 long runs.
And we're talking about the big one now.
Yeah, this is like the.
It's 30 miles.
It was 36. Yeah.
And that's. I've been to Killington in the winter. I'm guessing it's up and down and around the mountain.
It's up and down. It's up, down, around. The death climb, which is like a double black. You just, head down and you just don't. You just go. You just go.
So you're thinking about quitting?
The month before, I'm like, I can't do this. And to this day, Linda Poirier, she sends me like this inspirational email. I know you're going through it. You have this. And honestly, like that, like one email gave me so much motivation to complete it. But I felt the pressure of everyone at the gym. Like, you're going to be fine. And, we'd be outside. I'd be, running laps and obviously going around these people. But I felt a lot of pressure. Even during the race, I felt the pressure. Felt great. Felt great like the entire time. Felt good. Was pacing myself. Halfway point. Felt good. Got a good time. Everyone there to support me. And the amount of respect that you get on that race course when you're running an ultra. People just get out. That you're gonna be zipping by them because you have to learn to move very effectively and efficiently through the mountain, especially in the downhill. Like, you're grabbing trees, you're swinging around, like you're constantly looking, boom, 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 like, because you have to move or else you won't finish.
Well, before we get to that though, so I wanted to ask you the pressure part.
Yeah.
I think I like that though.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell people, okay, I'm doing this race, and now and whether or not they're putting any pressure on me, like,
right.
I'm committed to this. I have a goal this year to run a certain race, and now I love how locked in I get, and as I get closer, I get more and more locked in, and I feel that pressure you're talking about. Yeah. And I even know that the want to quit, the doubt in myself, like all the emotions that go up leading up to a race. But I think I like that pressure. Yeah. And I think that's part of what gets me up every day. Yeah. And gets me going. Do you kind of feel that way? Or?
Yeah, I do. I don't mind pressure, but this was like, and I don't mind taking on challenges. I've been that way my whole entire life, but as I mentioned previously, this was the first event that I had a genuine fear of failing. I mean, I'm looking at people that are just shredded, like they're not finishing. I'm reading blogs, been training forever, not finishing. I'm seeing a 20% finish rate. And I'm just like, holy cow, if these guys aren't doing it, how the hell am I going to do it? I'm like, how? It's a mindset for sure. Like, it is a mindset, without a doubt. It's a mindset that I'm gonna. Once you're locked, because...
And what happens if you don't?
You don't, but we're hard on ourselves,
If you don't finish, you probably just gear up for next year.
Yeah.
Do it. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But we do put that pressure on ourselves.
Absolutely. And it was...
So what's it like to start? Like, I want to go through this whole process,
yeah,
so I don't want to get too far ahead.
No,
so what's it like starting at the starting line? Or is it a staggered start? Because there's...
So there is waves. So we were in the first wave because it's staggered. I think it's like 15-20 minutes.
Right. Because obviously you can't have everybody hitting one obstacle at a time.
No. So we're in the first wave. I think that we started at 6 a.m. I mean, your adrenaline is just... You're like, I mean, you're in. It's still dark out there because it's September.
When about to start?
It's like the end of September.
No, time wise.
6 a.m. Yeah. I believe it was 6 a.m. So you try to sleep the night before the best that you can, and your adrenaline is just pumping. You're warming up, just like any other race. You're going back and forth. You're stretching.
Did you do like carb loading the night before?
Oh God, I had like a whole large pizza, a couple glasses of wine. Like I was all carved up for sure.
Did that work out well? Or
pizza's always my routine. I know it sounds crazy, but it usually is. And felt good. Had my coffee in the morning. Had a light breakfast, high protein. And just, I'm like, okay, here it is. Like,
Are you confident when you're at that starting line?
I am, but the anxiety is, kicking, and it's not like I'm, gonna win this race. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
The smaller ones, perhaps, like stadium races. Yeah, I came close. But this, people are getting paid.
Right.
I want to finish it.
Right,
And
right, right.
That's what
It's
I
your
want.
first time facing this distance.
Right. I'm like, I just wanna finish this, and they're calling everyone down to the line, and then, like, just so you know, the actual length today is gonna be more closer to 36. And I'm just like, oh.
And what were you expecting?
Well, you don't know. I mean, so the thing is, the ranges when it's a beast. I think the minimum. Now you can't quote me because it's been so long.
Yeah.
The minimum is like 13, but it can go up to 16. Like, so there's thresholds for in order to, and the same thing with the ultra. The minimum has to be, I want to say, like 31 or 32, but it can go up to
Right.
30. So it's
Right,
like,
right.
and that's Spartan. Like, they change it. They throw surprises at you.
There's a Mike Tyson quote where he says he's in the locker room before a fight, and they're wrapping him, and he's just full of fear. He's terrified.
Yeah.
And then as he's walking down, his confidence is building, and he goes, and then I step in the ring, and I'm a god.
Yeah.
Is what he
Yeah.
said.
No, that's.
But
Yeah.
I've since kind of hearing him say that, in some of the races I've done, like, I allow myself, because of hearing, like, it, because I have that, like, that doubt in myself building up.
Yeah.
And then I remember, like, my last Ironman, by the time I got to that start line, I was like, I'm the best.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm a god.
Right.
I know I'm
No,
not.
no,
but like, you're letting yourself
Mm-hmm.
feel it and everything that's built up. And another thing that kind of I found really kind of, somebody was talking about that you're in a race and you're doubting yourself. And too many, I think it was Zach Bitter, who's a ultra runner, and he was saying, I don't think of it as this is 100 miles that I'm running.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 8 months that led up to this 100 miles.
Right.
I'm that close to the finish line from
Right.
8 months.
It's a good perspective.
It's like, I'm just in this small part.
Yeah, that's a good perspective.
Because your mind plays so many games with you.
So many games.
Leading up to it.
Leading up
start,
to
and trying to keep, you feel the adrenaline at the start, but
Mhm.
you can't let it go too hard.
Right.
You gotta.
Right.
So the gun goes off, and so talk me through what, just your brief description in that article is about all I know about what these races are like.
Yeah.
Like how, I know you're doing lots of burpees if you don't complete.
Right.
What kind of obstacles are you having to give me an idea?
Yeah, I mean, so there's so many. I mean, there's swimming obstacles, there's monkey bars, there's climbs, there's bucket carries, like like bucket carries up one of these steep hills. It's like a 5-gallon bucket, and it's a long climb just with these buckets.
And if you fail,
So no, there's some of them are mandatory. Like,
Okay.
if you don't complete this obstacle,
Yeah.
you are absolutely
like a bucket
disqualified.
carry, you have to get.
Yeah,
up.
so you have to
But
just
a
go
monkey bar, if you fall half.
30 burpees. Yeah, it's not it's not mandatory, but there's a lot of mandatory obstacles like that. And it's September, so that water's like freezing. So you you jump in the water. I don't know the swim distance. I mean, it's not much, but you have to go. You swim to the certain checkpoint, and then you climb up this ladder, and then you have to swing across 5 rings, tap the bell, go back in the water, swim to the other, and you're freezing. You're absolutely freezing, and you're just hoping that you warm up soon. You don't cramp up. You don't cramp out. Then there's things, there's Atlas carries. You carry this big, huge cement ball over to the other side, then you do it again, then you drag. I mean, there's over 30-something obstacles, and none of them are easy. Like, some are easier than others, but, none of them are easy. And then, like, walls, like, it'll be a 4-foot wall, then an 8-foot wall, then a 10-foot wall. You can't get any help. Because you're in the elite, so you can't get any help, and they're actually, so you're wearing special bibs. So there's certain judges at certain marks that are watching you.
Right.
They're watching you specifically. There was a point where I did extra push-ups just because I didn't want to miss one. Like, I've been training for this event, for a while, and then you run 10 miles up a hill and doing all these weird exercises and weight challenges, and then you gotta climb a rope. You're so fatigued. You don't have anything left in your upper body. It's like, start here on monkey bars, picture, 3 times the size of this room. You have to get all across, and it's just, it's just insane. It's whatever they can do to make it hard. That's exactly what they do. And when you'll turn the corner, you see something, and you're just like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. You're like, you gotta be kidding me. But like you said, you're like, oh, I'm a god and I feel good. And when you're running, for me, where I picked up time is the downhill and running through the woods. I just flew.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Like I just always have flew through the woods. You do so many of them. You just like you with your Ironmans, and like, you just have this certain way of running now, right? So you fly in through the woods, and people will look, and they'll just, they see your bib, and they're just like ultra coming through, because there's a few of us. They just, you're flying through, you're passing everyone. You have to make it, and they just step aside, and they're just like, nice job, ultra, like nice job. That's lifting. It's very, it's positive and encouraging. And
I love the whole atmosphere of these types of
things. So do I. It's just, I mean, the most gratifying physical experience I've ever had in my life, just to get that medal, to have so many people congratulate you, like people that aspire to do that, people that did it that day, that failed at the after, they're just like, hats off, like, I don't know if I could go through that again. It's just, it makes you feel good, because they realize how much hard work goes into it.
Right.
Unless you do it, you don't realize the amount of work.
Right.
Like Ironman, like maybe a bucket list thing. Right now, no way. I'm not there. Like that to me is like, it's just so impressive, and people don't understand that. You're like, do you know what he just did? So after swimming, after a marathon, that's just crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that. Well, yeah, it's a weird. There's this weird. Now that I've done it, okay, that's not. Like I feel like I'm not. Like as a runner, I feel like a poser.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not that good of a cyclist.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty good swimmer, but I'm not. I was a sprinter. I wasn't a distance swimmer.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't my thing. If I can do it, anybody can do it. It's kind of like how I feel. Like
you gotta train for it, though. You have
right.
you have
right.
to you have to train for it.
Right.
Yeah.
I have this weird thing where I constantly like beat myself up.
Oh, I do too.
And to motivate myself, and I know I'm playing my own mind games with myself, but I don't feel like I'm part of that. Actually, like I feel like what could be inspirational, kind of I don't feel that extra gifted. Like I don't have anything special that I'm able to do some of the things I've done.
Yeah.
Just I put in hard work.
Right.
Yeah. But so I want to talk about my cousin and I. We've got into ultras and just running, and we always talk about going dark. Like your brain goes places. How the darkness, the doubt, and getting through that, and getting past that, and how hard that is, and getting used to that feeling. I mean, how dark did you go during that race? Like
so,
or was it, or you hit it? It's. I almost think.
Oh, I know the feeling. I know what you're talking about.
But I'm almost thinking in a race like that, it's so chunked up though. It's like, okay, I gotta run here, obstacle. Like you can kind of focus on one to the next.
Yeah.
So it's not just monotony where you just have to.
You have to focus, and you ask, you're at what time? How am I pacing? How am I doing this? Like, so the first half.
Oh, do you know your pace during it?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's clocks, and like, so I know where I'm at, and I have something, and I have my my Camelback, and I have my transition station. Obviously, I'm loaded with food. Like, I had a sandwich, had a fresh pair of shoes to throw on.
I was gonna ask you about that.
Yeah, so
you're carrying. I was gonna ask you about your gear.
Yeah, so just a Camelback and snacks, like nothing crazy. Protein bars, some like.
But you've got an extra pair of shoes.
So that's at the transition statement, halfway point.
Gotcha.
So at that transition statement, I had a great time. At that time, I had it was my girlfriend with me at the time and a couple of friends, and just to be the support team. Now, meanwhile, everybody else at the gym is running a race too. They're running the beast.
Right.
They're running the beast. So it was a joke. I'm like, if you see me come around, I mean, that may be good for me, it may be bad for you. I mean, because I'm lapping you.
Right.
You know? And it was just kind of like a joke. But yeah, so transition point, fresh shoes, clothes if I needed to, felt the need to. I didn't feel the need to.
Right.
The big thing was just shoes. I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, I was able to take my time, calm down, and just, you know, and hit it again. You talk about going dark. Now I'm concerned. I'm getting concerned. I feel myself getting weaker.
So the second half.
Yeah, I feel myself getting weaker, more fatigued.
You're doing the same obstacles you did the first
You're
time.
You're basically doing the same loop twice.
Gotcha.
You're basically doing the same loop twice.
So you know what's ahead of you.
You know it, and that's what makes it even. I'd rather not know.
Right.
I'd rather not know and just come around and look and just be like, but I'll get through it. You know. Yeah, fatigue. The ropes were a lot harder to climb at this point. You know, just because my whole upper body is just so fatigued because of everything. You know, it's just so much upper body between all the different monkey bars and pulling yourselves over walls and pulling yourselves up. There's just so much upper body, rings, monkey bars, ropes. You're depleting your upper body. You know, and even
your
like
abs.
Your everything, like you're just getting depleted. You know, your legs are starting to cramp up now from all the running, and you have your moments. You know, you definitely, those moments could be nerves. Those moments could be the protein and sugar bars kicking in. You get this final rush, but you had to ask me originally about going dark. So second time around, because you have certain checkpoints that, like, if you're not at the halfway point by X amount of, that's it.
Right.
You're done. You know, you basically have a 15-hour window to finish the race. So they had specific checkpoints, which they do for everybody, but especially for the ultra. So doing this death climb, which is just what it is. It's just that. I'm like, am I gonna make it? I have no idea now at this point. I'm so far away from the next. I'm like, I don't know.
Are you pretty alone on the course at this point?
I mean, there's people all around. There's
people doing the first
There's
lap.
There's people like all around.
And it's staggered starts.
And it's staggered starts. So there's just you know, people everywhere. You have people swearing, cursing. This is effing ridiculous. And that's when I'm like, well, you signed up for this, man. Like, you know, like, if you're hurting, that's what, like, you know what you got into.
Right.
If you didn't, that's kind of on you. And there's this one guy. So we're going up the death climb. He's just like, you have any idea how much longer? I'm like, I don't know, man. Just keep your head down. Just keep moving. I go, just keep moving. You'll get through it. I don't even remember where he was from, and you know, we're both like kind of just side by side, dude. He's like, yeah. He goes, man. I heard this part was tough, but he's like, wow, this is a doozy. And he looks over at me and he goes, he's like, you're doing the ultra? He goes, this is your second. I go, yeah, this is mine. He's like, oh my God. And like, he perked up. He's like, oh my God, man, congratulations. And I'm like, I'm nervous. He's like, if I'm okay right now, I'm pretty sure you're going to be okay at this checkpoint, you know? Then there was somebody else. And then you get around a certain point. You still have a few more obstacles to finish. And you know these obstacles because you know where the fin. And then you see that emotions. Like I ended up kind of going around with this guy who told me his whole life story about his weight issues, his family, divorce, kids, everything, and how he got into it. And you're just filled with so much emotion. You're drained. You're absolutely drained. You know the emotion at the end. Like, I can't believe I just did this. I just can't believe I conquered this. Yeah. And then you have all these people from, you know, the gym that you've been training with for so many years. Everyone's just kind of, you know, celebrating it. And, you know, and then, you know, the next day there were friends that were running like a 5K, you know, version of this, and you still having, you know, ultra stuff, and people are just like, you know, they're just so respectful of you because they know the hard work that went into it, and you doubt yourself, did I really just do that?
Right.
You know, because other people are coming up to you that are 80 times in better shape, like appearance wise, like block of cheese, rub it against their abs, like lean, and they're like, yeah, I didn't finish it. And so everyone has their breaking point. That breaking point could be a sprained ankle at any time.
Right. And
that's another thing. It is completely common to see injuries all around you,
especially going downhill.
And you just keep, unfortunately, you're right. I mean, what are you gonna? There's so many people there, and medics all over the place, ambulances all over the place. You'll sometimes hear medic, broken bones, popped out this, like it's everywhere. Hypothermia, you see it all the way around.
What was the temperature of that day about?
I don't know.
But was it a comfortable sunny kind of day?
Yeah, no, I mean it's cold in the water. Like there's no doubt. I mean it was okay. You obviously like it a little bit warmer. I mean September, it's Killington, it's Vermont. Right. But it was okay. But yeah, it's just I can't even begin to describe it. And after that, I'll go back to that race. But after I ran another race. This was just, it's when another friend of mine started getting into it. It's another version of it. It's called the Super. That's like 10 miles. It's done on a farm in Massachusetts. Same idea. It's got up and down, but it's not a mountain. And I swear, I had PTSD. I do. I really, I had PTSD all over again. And I was just like, oh my God. I was like, I don't know if I want to go through this again. I'm like, I mean... I have sustained lots of injuries from these things. Labrum tears, sprained ankles, torn ligaments, and, tore my labrum on a ring. I knew it right when it happened. And I'm just like, because you, I can't hold back. So if I'm in it, I'm in it. There's no just trotting along.
Right.
I'm in it. And, a good friend of mine, Craig, he wants to do the Ultra, which he'll get there. There's no doubt. You could probably do it now, but he wants me to do it. I'm like, I think my days of that training is over. It's got little guys at home now. My stepdaughter, soon to be stepdaughter, is 10, and it's just it for me at this point. It's about I'll find another challenge. I don't know if you know Tom Hennigan, he's who I ran the half with. Well, he's like, let's do a marathon. I'm like, all right, let's do one more marathon. And so for me, it's maintaining, maybe accomplishing something else. I could change my mind. I don't know the answer to that. Right. I don't know the answer to that. Right. I always told my son that I will run an obstacle course race with you whenever you're ready. That's something different. That's father son, happy to do it. But as far as the what's next, I don't know. Yeah. I'm sure you're like me. You will constantly think about the what's next. Yeah. It's. I don't know.
So how wrecked were you after that race? How sore were you? I can't even. I can't imagine all that went into what you just described. I'm trying. I mean, I've been working out for years, but I don't know if, and I can push myself pretty hard, but there's a lot that goes into like you said, the upper body. There's so much to that race.
Yeah, there is.
You have to be so strong and endurance-wise, strong.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to be able to lift a certain amount of weight, but to be able to kind of lift your body weight over and over and over.
Right.
And I look at myself now, I'll go to do some chin-ups or something like that, and I'm nowhere near what I was 10 years ago.
Not even close. I'm not even where it is. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Right.
And Kim's like, you're not getting any younger. It's even once we reach a certain age. I think 5 years it changes. Your body composition changes. I don't know, but I can't. Then I was training 4 or 5 hours, like it was nothing.
Right.
Like it was absolutely nothing.
Right.
I wasn't too I was more prepared than I thought. Not as much as I'd like. I actually, wasn't too bad. I remember just eating like crazy for what seemed to be a week. Just everything in sight, just not sleeping, hungry, just constantly.
Right. Did you have any of the post-race kind of depression?
No, I was actually riding the high for, quite a while. I get random emails and calls from people that I didn't even know, and people asking me about it, and then received a call from the Bangor Daily,
Right.
and I didn't recognize the voice, and he's like, and I think that's how it all perhaps got together. I don't know, but at that time it was a reporter who was an instructor at the gym. So I don't know, he just called, he's like, you mind if I ask you like a few questions? And I go, yeah, I don't care, and
Right.
just kind of describing it. And it's tough to, like I said, describe something like that. It's like you trying to describe an Ironman to someone that's never really cycled or swam, or, to try to outline the obstacles. You have to be like, go look at Spartan, check it out, look at to see what some of these obstacles, and then, and there's about whatever, like 60 something of them or whatever.
There's probably tons of little videos online. I mean, you can.
Oh yeah, no, there's just, Spartan today is still, it's still huge, and then there's this one obstacle that I've never completed in my years and years and years of doing it. In fact, I get to this obstacle, I automatically just start doing my burpees. It's a spear throw. All it is, it's a spear, and you have to throw it at the target. I have never completed it. So I get there, I just immediately start doing.
What's the hard? What's the hard part about it? Like,
I don't know. Maybe I just don't have the aim, the posture right. I just have never been able to hit it.
Do you have one throw?
I think you have 3 attempts. You have 3 attempts, then you have to go to the burpee zone.
And are you hitting the target?
Yeah, you just have to have it. So it's a metal spear. You just have to make it sit on this big hay target.
Are you hitting it? It's not.
Sometimes I hit it. It doesn't stick in. Sometimes it goes over. And then after like a few years, I'm just like, I'm wasting more time. This is when I'm running competitively for my own time, and I want to compete. I want to be in the top end of my division. And,
water there.
yeah, thank you. And I'm just like, so at this point, I'm just like, I know my limits. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Grip strength is definitely huge, because there's a lot of obstacles. I don't know if you've ever seen like American Ninja Warrior or anything like that. Yeah, so there's things like that where you just have these tiny little things, and you have to. Luckily, I'm pretty flexible, so I'm able to like kind of go it. But you need that grip strength. So there's a lot of things like that, and a lot of times when I would do, like the obstacle course, like I would practice with the weight vest on. You mentioned the body pump class. So the instructors would be like, don't think Brian's crazy, even though he is, but like after every, we do chest, or we do buys, or we do back, like all in between, I would run out in the hall and do burpees in between sets, just to keep me ready, because I always knew when people were training for Spartan races, because we've done a bunch of the Tough Mudders, and that was just a fun thing, helping people through it, and then I'd go on an obstacle, help people, run back, run forward. It was fun. And then you see people doing burpees along the Tough Mudder. And I'd be like, you practicing for a Spartan race? They're like, yep. I'm like, okay. So I figured. Why else would you be doing it?
Yeah. You did a lot of burpees that day, didn't you?
Oh, God.
The article said so.
Yeah, I can't even. There was 60 something obstacles, and an obstacle you fail is 30 burpees,
They're just saying if I had to pop down to 100 right now,
yeah,
that'd be a workout in itself.
Of course.
Everything else.
Yeah, but back then, just like you took the time to train. You had. There's times I'm down here at 10 o'clock at night with the headlamp. Just wasn't going for time. Just like, I'm running 4 hours tonight. I'm running 4 hours tonight, and that's what I'm doing. That's a workout, and you just commit to it. I would. I didn't, it was like a Wednesday night or a Thursday night. I'm like, I don't have my kids tonight. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run for 4 hours, Like, you want to ride yet? Or,
Right.
But, yeah, and it is, like, it's rewarding, it's gratifying, it's also humbling, too. It's humbling, and I think you had mentioned earlier why we beat up ourselves a lot, because I think once you start doing all these things, an Ironman, this, that, at least this is how I feel. People hold this high expectation of you, especially when you're doing like group fitness, to always be the fastest, the strongest, the quickest. They're not voicing it, but they automatically, expect it. So if you're having an off day, even me, like, I feel pressure.
Right.
Because I'm not at where I was 7 years ago. You know, like I can't do as many pull-ups. I don't know how many I could do with a 40-pound weighted chain now because, like, yeah, you know, I think those days are over.
Yeah.
You know, like I can walk with the weighted chain, you know, but you know what I mean. And it's like, and in theory, do I think I could do another race like that if I trained? Yes. My biggest fear at this point, it would be injury.
Right.
That because if something else happens again, especially with my ankles, like I'm done.
Right.
Like I mean, I don't. There's been time in class now where my ankle just gave out for no reason, and it's almost like I wish I broke it because I wouldn't have all the torn and stretched tendons. You know, so that's another big fear too.
No, I totally get that. That's it's a brutal. Just running downhill.
Yeah.
Just that alone. Forget everything else in the race.
Yeah.
That alone.
Yeah.
Your chances of injury.
Right. Very, very high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll ask you, what's next for you?
So I'm signed up for a backyard ultra, last man standing race.
What does that consist of?
So, it's 4.167 miles every hour. At 24 hours, you're at 100 miles.
Oh my god.
Last year, the winner of the race did 140 miles. So basically a day and a half.
Every hour.
Every hour you're just doing 4 miles. It's a loop every. So we had done one. So last spring, my cousin and I did in Old Town. We went to my brother's house, University Trails. We just kind of did our own. And I got to like 60 something miles, and that was hard. It actually, I had run 60 miles just on a run. That was way harder. The starting and stopping, your body.
60 miles nonstop.
Yeah, but that was way easier than doing 60 with the start and stop because you come in and now I got 10 minutes and you sit down for 10 minutes and your body starts to like
Cramp.
lock up, your joints start to tighten up, and then you got to kind of like start loosening back up again, and then so there's that whole thing. So I mean, I want to get over 100. I think I could do that right now. Yeah.
Oh my.
But
I see. Hats off to you. That is.
Who knows? I mean, it's gonna be. So talking about going dark. I mean, it's him and I are doing it. There's this. I don't know if you know who Nick Bear is. He's like an Instagram kind of guy.
Yeah.
He's a former bodybuilder.
Yeah.
That does ultra running and triathlons and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't look like a guy that should be doing these things.
Sure,
he's a
but he is.
bodybuilder,
Yeah. Yeah.
And he actually ended up signing up for the race, so now it's kind of become a bigger thing.
Okay.
But I think I want to get over 100. I think I'm expecting to get close to 150, and then just see what happens. But I have no idea. I've never been there. I've run 100 kilometers this fall, and I felt pretty good. Like the sheer time that takes, it's so to go much longer than that's like, man, like it's.
How long did that take you?
I don't remember. I don't want to. I
Ballpark.
well, so I started. Let me just think. I started at like 3 a.m. and I ended. It was getting dark, so a little after dark, 6-7 o'clock. So 12, 15 hours, 18 hours. I can't do the math right now, but it's a long time.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Holy cow.
And it's. Yeah. The.
How do you train to run for a distance like that?
It's an unknown distance. So it's, I mean, the way so there's a couple things. Him and I, my cousin and I have been kind of, he's in Portland and I'm here, and we both have Garmin's and we can see what each other's doing or pushing. So as we've been building up our miles, so weekends we were doing 30 miles and then 20 miles back to back. And we found that 20 miles, you're actually not that, you don't feel, like all your fast twitch muscles are gone. Mm-hmm. You're just on slow twitch muscles.
Sure.
Which feels a lot like when we're doing those really long distances. Mm-hmm. So we've been doing a lot of that. I've been doing 100-mile weeks, and then I'll do like a 50-mile week in alternating, and just keep trying to up my mileage each week and see how far I can, what my body can handle.
Any issues with knees?
None. Well, yeah, I lied. So, the joints themselves, I've had none. Tendon issues, I've had them here and there.
Yeah.
And that's, it helps that my son's a physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like,
Yeah.
okay, I got this thing going
Sure.
on. What do I do?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah.
And it's usually more stretching.
Yeah.
Almost all the time, which on my 50-mile weeks, I'm doing a ton of yoga and stuff. But I've had no structural issues. But I find I'm at a point now where I'm doing my 100-mile weeks or beyond. By the end of the week, I'm starting to feel something. I'm starting to okay, something's coming up.
Yeah.
But I know I'm getting to my limit. I'm getting to that limit.
Yeah.
And the next week, I do 110, and it's like, oh, I push the goalpost a little farther out.
That's beyond impressive. Beyond.
But see, I think about what you did. We just did we took two different paths.
Right.
I think of yours is so impressive.
Yeah.
What I'm doing, the thing is, I'm not running for any kind of pace.
Right.
And there's a certain, I don't even know what the best strategy. It's kind of a newer kind of race. So let me talk. So the cool things about this style of race, which I'm really excited about. Every hour, everybody's at the start line again.
Mm-hmm.
Every single person in the race is at the start line.
Yeah.
And you're actually like in a group of people.
Okay.
After a marathon distance, you've already cut it down more than half of whatever starts. After like 30, 40 miles, you're down to 15 people maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like last year's race, around 50 miles, they're down to 6 people. And then they went for
I'm not surprised.
Right. But you're kind of the community aspect of it.
Yeah.
You're coming back to the same loop, so people are cheering you on.
Yeah.
And you're actually getting to know the other runners because you're all going through it. And so that part I'm really excited about that. And I've been on this kind of, so back years ago when you and I talked, I think I did I want to say I was going for an Olympic distance triathlon. So it's like a double sprint.
Maybe that's what I was what I was thinking.
And I did that. I think it was in Freeport, and then the next year I did a half Ironman, and then I did an Ironman, and so it's like I remember thinking an Ironman was impossible. I remember like going into triathlete sports, and they have, I don't know if you've ever been in that little sport, and they got the little videos playing of it. I'm like, those guys are crazy. And I'm doing my little. That's 4 times longer than the Olympic that I'm training for. How do people do that? Like a marathon by itself, like I told you, my first marathon I had done a ton of running, but I'd never gone over 18 miles because that's what all the training thing. I hit 20 miles and it's like my body fell apart. How does somebody do an Ironman that has a marathon at the end? That doesn't make sense to me.
No, I know.
And then I did it. I'm like, what's possible now?
Right.
And I'd done the Ironman, and my cousin had just started a podcast himself, and he invited me on, and he goes, have you heard of ultra running? I'm like, what's that?
Yeah.
And he's like, longer than marathon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is it possible? So then we just both started on that journey, and my first Ironman attempt, I finished it, but the run I kind of fell apart towards the end. I had some stomach issues going on. It took all I could do to get through it. But I was like, and then, so I'm like, I need to focus on running more. Let's focus on some running longer distances. And it's just been kind of this. Last year, 60-mile weeks was all my body could handle. And now I'm putting out 100-mile weeks. It's like, and I'm getting a year older.
Right.
It's like,
right.
well, what's possible? Like, where is my actual limit? Is it in my head? Is it?
Right. I think you'll know. I think this does control a lot. For me, my limit is when this knee is like I've had knee issues. I've had prolotherapy. I've had core. Like I have knee. I'm avoiding to try to go under the knife. My dad's better. He was a runner. My dad went under the knife. Like it's in my family. Like I know it's there. I have to. I don't want to go under the knife. So I have to see where is that limit. I'll know when it happens.
Right.
I'll know when it happens. But with you, where it's just some beyond soreness, but that's if your joints are still good to go, that's awesome.
I'm lucky.
That's great. That's great.
Jeff's always saying to it, motion is lotion.
Yeah.
And if you stop using it, then it's gonna start deteriorating, and then
Right.
you won't get it back.
Oh, you have
there's a, and it's
absolutely.
Yeah.
You gotta keep going, but know your
but that's the hard thing is
Yeah.
when to know my limit at this
I know.
point for what I'm trying to do. It's like
yeah.
I'm trying to go to an unlimited. Who knows? The world record I think is 240 miles, so that's 2 full days. So you're not sleeping unless you run fast enough that you can get 10 minutes in or something. So.
So you guys start. So it's a 4-mile loop, and you run it every hour.
At the top of the hour you got to be at the start line, and you got 1 hour to get back. And if you go and put a 10-minute mile pace, you got 20 minutes to change whatever you want to do, and then you're back to the start line. I think my goal, I'm gonna
So what's the maximum distance on it if you complete every hour?
at 24 hours it's 100 miles. It's last man standing.
Last
So
man
it's,
standing.
you're going until
Wow.
it's interesting at the high. I mean, there will be pros I think at this race.
Have people completed this?
Well, there's no. It's so if you and I are the last two,
Yeah.
it goes until one of us quits.
That's why. So the event lasts 24 hours.
No. The event lasts
As long as it
until
goes.
until there's one person
I
left. So it could go 3 days. It could go. You don't know,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
And you see some of these races, like when they get to the end, there'll be 2 left, and they're trying to go for the world record. Well, I can't go for the world record if you don't come with me. When the one of you quits, then the other one's done.
Oh, right, because of the distance.
It's just till the last person standing.
Wow.
And it's
Okay, I
interesting.
misunderstood.
Right. And once you get to, it's interesting because once you get to this level, there's no advantage male or female, which is kind of a cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
The women do as well, if not better than the men.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, and it's in here and what you can endure.
Yeah.
And lack of sleep.
Yeah.
And what that messes with you. I haven't been.
Holy cow. I mean, there's got to be a time where you're like, I'm tired. Like, I don't know if I can run another 4 miles.
Right. So my plan is to walk. So the stopping got me in that first time we tried it. That really taking a break. And I was talking to Jeff, and he's like, maybe you need a bike or something just to keep moving, to keep the joints. And I'm like, what if I walk? So my plan is to kind of walk 3/4 of a mile in, run 3.5, walk 3/4,
Wow.
and then give myself like 5 minutes to just grab food, get back to the start line. So I'm not stopping. I'm not actually stopping. I'm doing more
That's
walking.
crazy.
But I don't know
Crazy.
But I know lots of guys, like the elite runners, will run fast,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll take a rest and sleep and massage,
Power nap and
get the massage gun going. And
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Wow.
It's such an unknown thing. Like I said, 100's my. I mean, anything can happen, but
Mhm.
100's my kind of like minimal goal, and then so 24 hours, and see what happens there.
Now, will you do? When does this take place?
September in New Gloucester, so near Gray.
So will you try to do this event on your own, like to see how much you can do beforehand?
So my cousin and I were both talking about
Yeah.
we might want to take another, just because I know with Ironman, the greatest predictor of success is how many Ironman you've done before,
Okay.
not how much training you've done or what training program, because the experience is a big part. So I do think that's
Mm-hmm.
it'll be smart to do it. But the other thing that him and I kind of run into though, when you do a race of this distance, you're beating your body up so much.
Right.
So like let's say in May we do it, you can almost chalk up the next 2 or 3 weeks of I'm recovering
Recovery time,
where I
yeah.
could have been training, and it kills me. So we'll see. But I do think I'm at a point where I could handle 100 and not have too much. I think I could, but it's hard to know.
100 miles. See, I can't even fathom that.
But Millinocket kicked my butt. I mean, 26.2 still kicks my butt by itself. But that's when I'm pushing a pace, and there's
Yeah. So this is what I've learned about half marathons is that as I'm getting older, like I need to train for this stuff. Like I can't just last year I haven't ran and I couldn't even tell you I'll just do a half marathon, no problem. It was only the half, but no, I'm getting older. Like I have to train for things now. Like
Right.
I have to. And Tom and I were like, I don't know which full one he had mentioned, but like, well, like let's do a couple of halves and then aim for the full again, just to say we did it, because we've never done one together. And that's kind of always been the thing, the goal. But I 100, I can't even fathom it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of the, the PTSD of 24 hours or just till somebody's done, like I think of the 13 hours that I was out there for, and I'm like, I can't even picture trying to do that again.
Right. Yeah.
But you still have that drive, like you want to do it, you want more, and that's a beautiful thing to have.
There's something about seeing improvement. Like I said, we're getting older, and to see improvement, like I'm doing things I couldn't do last year, let alone
That's
when I was
awesome.
in high school.
Yeah, that's
It's like,
amazing.
wow, how am I?
Yeah.
Where are my limits? When is? I mean, I know at some point it's gonna start going downhill.
Yeah, keep going.
And I want to
keep going.
Yeah,
if you can, keep going.
That's the thought.
Just keep going, find that next challenge, and as long as you got that bug, you'll be like, look, you're always gonna exercise, you're always gonna be in shape. I think we all are. Very rarely do you see someone just, I'm done, I'm just gonna go to McDonald's every day and sit on the couch. That doesn't happen. But it's just like, what is that? What's that point? And I don't know, because I used to always think about what is the next challenge. Is there a next challenge? And for me, it's, you have to find that balance, because it's a big commitment to do what you're doing. I don't even think I could do that ever, but such a race of that magnitude, it's a huge commitment.
But that's the other thing, the life balance.
Right.
So I mean, even in the race you were doing, like, you got work, you got family, and I mean that's something I like, a goal I put on myself is like, okay, I don't want this to interfere. Like I want to do my thing, but I don't want to miss time with my family. I don't want to be like so tired from my workout that I can't hang or still mow the lawn or do the things I need to do around the house.
Yep.
And trying to keep that balance is a challenge.
Huge challenge.
And I have to kind of remind myself with I gotta check in with her, make sure I'm not.
Yeah.
Did I do too much? Did I?
Yeah.
And I mean, how do you handle, like, when you're looking at things you're doing, or your workout, or even back then, like, how do you balance?
Back then, to be honest with you, once I started, I was always doing like the race, like the smaller race, like the obstacle course races and things of that nature. That, quite honestly, it happened when we separated and divorced. I want to say, so I had extra time. I had my kids half the time, like, so I wanted to keep myself busy. I wanted to
say that probably.
and it did. It helped tremendously. So, like, I had that time to channel it, somewhere else. Like, even today, like my Kim will notice that if I'm stuck on a screen all day and can't get out of the house, or I miss she notices me. So I make it a point that I have to try to do something I have to, for my own sanity.
Yeah.
I have to, but to balance that, it's hard. What's going to balance to make you feel right, and it's that balance with your partner. If you're going to be a better person to us, to the family, if this is what you need, fine, but just make sure you make time, because that's an important piece. Yeah. We all need it. Anyone that acts like, we all need it. Like Kim, she has her set times. I have my times, which doesn't interfere too much. But I told her, I'm gonna have to, if time allows, and I don't have calls. Like I would like to stop picking up, Monday nights again. I know you're gonna have all the kids, but it's just for a couple hours. For me, it would make me feel better. And Saturday mornings aren't a problem for me, because I'm home by like 11 o'clock, and they're kids, they're teen. It doesn't matter, And even if it's the summertime, we're still able to do our stuff. But the balance piece, it's funny you mentioned that. Is maybe that could be another, conversation for like another time. But like, how do you balance? How do you balance everything? With the job, and it's all a balance. It's all of. A buddy of mine sent me this. It's I just like these little quotes of, let me pick this out, and it was kind of interesting, right? So it's just like, if you died tonight, like, God forbid, and obviously we're not going to, but this is about talking about the family aspect, right? Your
Yeah.
employer would advertise to fill your job by the end of the month. Period, and end of story. But your loved ones, chosen family, friends, they would miss you forever. You know, I guess the whole point of that was just, don't get too busy, making a living with your money and your job that you forget to make life with the people around you.
Right. Right.
And this I thought was kind of cool, and it was funny because it was sitting on my desk, and I didn't do it for this. I'm like, I'm gonna bring this over to Ben. I'm gonna bring this over to Ben. So it's just 6 things mentally strong people do. Number 1, they move on. They don't waste time feeling sorry for themselves. We talk about change. You can either do 2 things. You can embrace it, or you can complain about it. Strong mentally people, they embrace change, and they welcome the challenges. Big thing, try to stay happy. Don't waste energy on things that you can't control, because we waste so much energy. I do so much energy on things can't control. It's one thing to vent, change, do something about it. Only you can fix it.
Right.
Only you can fix it.
I'm always, it drives my daughters nuts, but I'm like, happiness is a choice, and they're like,
absolutely,
Dad, it's not. I mean, what's happening is it's like, no, you have a choice. You can choose to be happy.
It's true. Like, be kind, be fair, but don't afraid to speak up if it's the right thing to do.
Right.
What did this? Willing to take calculated risks, and here's always been the kicker to me, because I see it in my work. I see it. I see it with you, where you commend me, I commend you. Celebrate other people's success.
Yeah.
Don't resent it.
Right.
Don't don't. It's one thing to be competitive, but to be constant envious of thy neighbor is a bad place.
Absolutely.
It's a bad place to be in. And
it's funny you say that. I was thinking about that today. How, I look back at the person I was, like high school, college, or not, in my 20s. I mean, so in the weight room, I was kind of a freak in the weight room. Like, I won the bench press contest 3 years in a row.
I can picture it.
I was 150 pounds.
It doesn't surprise me.
No, actually, I wasn't even 150. I was more like 140, and I was winning the bench press contest with football players at Maine.
That's crazy.
And granted, there was a calculation with like how much you weighed and what you were benching, but I still was out benching.
Yeah.
And I used to I go into a gym and I'd sit next to the guy that had the most weight and put on the same weight he put on.
Yeah. And
then just show off.
Go right at it. Yeah.
I look back at that person like, what a prick I was.
Yeah.
There was something about this macho, look at me, I'm a badass.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm so much more interested in trying to pick up people now and trying to motivate and be supportive
and that comes with age too.
I think so,
and that comes with age and maturity. I mean, I see it sometimes when I'm at I haven't been anymore because of my travel, but I was doing a little bit of teaching over at Bangor Brewer Athletic Club, and you see the younger kid, what they're all, I mean, I was somewhat, not to your extent, but I was like that when I was in high school too, and it comes with maturity. I mean, these kids, they just, I'll give you a perfect example. My son Vinny, when I completed the ultra, the first thing was did you win? No, I didn't win. But they're kids. They don't have an understanding. They don't have a path right now. They're in their own bubble.
Right.
We can get stuck in our bubbles. Imagine the bubble that they're in right now. Yeah. No direction. That'll be another conversation for another day, but we could be podcast too, the kids and the culture, and just how everything has just so dramatically changed.
Absolutely.
Even around here, who'd have thought that this great town that we lived in has a heroin problem? It's scary.
I'm not even aware.
Yep.
I've kind of I've kind of shut off news. I've separated myself from the news. Yeah. And it's one of the best choices I ever made. Yeah. I would find myself getting mad about things and
I don't watch. I just have friends that
but there's a heroin.
Well, there's been heroin busts, and there's been a lot of heroin going around in Hamden, and I lecture my kids all the times about drugs and don't and just unfortunately, there's a lot of wealth in the town too, and when you have people that have high disposable income, most likely the kids are going to end up with some of that disposable income, and you're bored, and one person says try this, and it's, I mean, it happens in every town, it happens in every town, but it's just the only thing that we can do is just steer our kids down that right path and just hope that they make the right choices, because sometimes people make bad choices and it's not the parents' fault.
Right.
I mean, smart people from multi-billion-dollar companies make bad choices all the time,
Right.
and they're smart people,
Yeah.
and they made a bad choice. It's, I get it, but I think it's, can we learn from it, and do we overcome it? I'm still learning more and more every day.
That's the other thing too. I know, like I thought, thought I knew it all.
Yeah.
And
I did too.
This podcast, I've been trying to challenge myself to like certain ideas I have about political or whatever.
Yeah.
When you say it, it's like, what is that based on really?
Mm-hmm.
And am I willing to change my ideas and
Yeah.
rethink things and look at it from a different perspective? It's like, wow, it's such a better place to be than thinking you know it.
Oh, with absolutely. And obviously I'll have, my strong opinions about things, and I'll always be willing to listen, and I'll always be willing to, respect your opinion, as long as you're not trying to shove it down my, my throat. It's kind of like how these school board meetings went, and just people present in a good way and people present in a not so good way, and I may not agree with you, but I'm always going to respect your opinion.
Right.
And it's like there's certain things that I can't change, don't have the power to change, don't have the money to change, don't have the political clout to change. Like, it's inevitable. It's just not going to change.
Right.
So what can we do on this very little short time we have on this planet to try to make our lives happy and to be happy? Because life is hard.
Yeah.
Life is hard. It's challenging. If anyone tells you it's roses, they're lying.
I heard somebody say just recently, like they're asking, like, what do you want out of life? You want to sit on a beach and drink margaritas? Well, how long would you actually be happy doing it?
You get bored. You can't do that.
A day,
Yeah.
2,
A day,
and
maybe.
maybe
Yeah.
a week, like a vacation.
Yeah,
Then you'd
yeah.
be like, I need something more.
Of course.
And there's this the balance. Oh, wow. It was a doctor I heard on a podcast, and she was saying that she was talking about dependency and drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she was saying how you take the drug and you get all these endorphins, right? And if you picture your brain is kind of like on a scale,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pushing these endorphins,
Yep.
and your brain is fighting to get back to equilibrium. Well, it's got all these positive endorphins. Now it's going to fight to negative
Mm-hmm.
to rebalance it. So you have this negative emotions in your system, basically in your head. And I think of when I'm running, running is almost never fun for me.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
there's times where I get into a groove and I'm
Yeah.
enjoying the groove, but it's always work.
It's work. Yeah.
But I get done the run and I'm like, okay, the exact opposite. Somebody that's on drugs, I think, is happening to, because
Mhm.
my brain's been in this negative for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've shifted to just and I have this overwhelming
Yeah.
positive. And I was gonna say, when you were talking earlier, I know when I run or exercise, I'm a better version of myself.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
It takes the edge off my
Yep.
my ADD that I
Yeah.
had before it was a diagnosable thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Same
but,
here.
but it definitely puts me in a better. I feel like a better person.
Yeah.
I'm more willing to listen. It takes the edge off. I feel like the best
Yeah.
version of myself.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's been proven that exercise, even if it's just it's important. It's an important aspect of your mental health. It's going to affect you. It's going to affect the people around you.
So,
And there's no perfect recipe for anything. I have a feeling that you and I could sit here for hours and just talk about random subjects and just keep on going on. Mental health right now is a big aspect of our work, because people have been stuck behind screens for 2 years. People are getting Zoom fatigue. Kids aren't learning the way that they're supposed to. Values have shifted. Teachers are it's just a crazy time that we're living in.
yeah.
And instead of putting people down, like you said, we need to be pulling people up. How can I help? I used to look at someone, they were begging for money or they were poor, and I know we're running out of time, but before I used to I used to look at that person and be like, what the hell, man, come on. And now I'm like more along the mindset of like, what caused you to get to this point?
Right.
How did this happen? Like what's the why? Like what's the why behind this? Like it's simple words, but if you really try to just seek to understand like what somebody else is going through, or just
Right.
seek to understand that individual, that can go a long way. I'm gonna make mistakes for sure. Am I gonna fail? Absolutely. I hate to. Do I want to be on top? Of course I do. But I'm gonna hopefully learn from my mistakes and move on.
Right.
And when it comes to our kids and career directions, and I think we just have to hope for the best, provide guidance. Hopefully they take it, and I am, especially Marcelo, because he's with me the majority of the time, and yeah, I'm hard on him for sure. I am, and and Kim tells him too that when I say like, I'm not like all the time, but he's with me when he's supposed to be, and I'm like, I hope you realize like I'm not hard on you because I'm being a jerk. Like I'm
Right.
hard on you because I know what you're capable of. I know what you can do. And when you just stop at a certain point, when you can go a little bit further, that's upsetting to me. Like it is,
I feel lucky to have daughters.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Like, cause they're like the best versions of me
Yeah.
without all the boy issues.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
Yeah, I know. I see it. I mean, I
it's
see
like
it
their
in our
attention
house.
span is so much better than mine ever was.
Yeah. Oh, it's like the fogginess, and I swear, all these boys at school from like 8th grade all the way, it's like they're all the same. Wait, what? I'm like, are you in outer space? Like, what don't you understand?
I feel like school is not set up for boys, to be honest with you. The way, and I don't know what the right system is.
Yeah.
But I look back at myself. I mean, if they had ADD, if they had, ADD meds back
Yeah,
then, I would have
yeah.
been on it. But I don't know if that's, who knows if that's the best option.
No,
But,
who knows? And there's.
But I feel like if I was sitting in a classroom and they're like, okay, go run for 5 minutes. Okay, now we're gonna teach you something. Go
Yeah.
run for 5 minutes.
Right.
Or some other to
Right.
get that. Like now I exercise in the morning and I know I'm more efficient at work.
Right. Right.
If I was doing that back then, and maybe I would have been a better. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I feel like sitting in a classroom for 8 hours is not the most efficient way for my
it's-
teenage brain to learn. For
No,
sure.
I mean, same thing. Same thing with me. Like, even it's a joke, even at meetings, because my son has it too. And the biggest thing is always like, okay, how long until Brian stands up? Like, how long? Even at home, like I don't sit. I have a standing desk. I hardly ever. I just can't do it. But yeah, no, I get it. I do, and that's why it's important, to take those breaks and, to stand up, and, maybe we can, do this again and just focus more on like the kids aspect and what we can do to help them become motivated. 'Cause I think just from whoever decides to listen to this, that can relate to many different parts of these conversations, because everyone's experiencing it.
I agree.
Everyone's has those, sleepless nights, or times at work, or time with their kids, or time with their family, and everyone's home all the time. Perhaps they're all getting in at each other, and people are working from home. It's just different times.
Yeah.
It is, and people need to be voice. It's okay. It's okay. How can I help? What can I do to help? And if you don't want to talk about work, sometimes I get that too.
Right.
Sometimes you just want to, leave it alone.
How has the COVID, I don't know what to call it, the pandemic treated you? I mean, how has it
Yeah,
been?
so I was fortunate. I was able to work at home, and then I started traveling again. Like, I was basically in.
What do you do for work?
I'm a manager for a pharmaceutical company.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm an account manager.
Okay.
This past year, I was managing the upstate New York team, the cardiovascular team, getting them ready for heart failure. So I was like flying out every week, but I enjoyed it. I definitely did. It got me out of the house. It got me to do things. But to answer your question, I've been fortunate because we've actually been really busy, especially with the hospitals, with respiratory things of that nature. So I feel fortunate in that aspect. What about you?
Yeah, so I work for Ennis Giles Foundations, and I'm an estimator.
Okay.
And I work from home.
Okay.
Luckily.
Yeah.
I basically build the foundation in the computer 3D.
Okay.
And get all the quantities and stuff like that, but I build it to find issues before you're actually pouring concrete.
Gotcha.
And then I send my takeoff of the quantities and stuff to the office, and then they add the dollars to it. And so but I feel lucky that I got the opportunity to work from home.
Absolutely.
My wife, she's been working from home for years. She's a corporate travel agent. So we didn't know how that was going to be, us both working at home.
Oh.
But it's worked out great.
That's good.
She's on the phone a lot, and we were worried that, like, you know, just talking and will we have enough internet and but all that stuff worked out.
Good.
And I feel lucky compared to, I mean, imagine our children are about the same age.
Yeah.
Imagine you had younger children, you had to deal with this.
No.
I mean, like, my daughters they were set up to succeed in this, luckily, and they were disciplined enough students and have done all right.
Yeah.
Would I prefer them being in a classroom learning from a teacher? Yes.
Yeah.
But they did all right that first year, and
they handled it.
If I had, you know, younger kids, toddlers. I mean,
I don't know
how parents dealt with that.
No, I don't know, and I saw it, and you know, my neighborhood, and you know, my neighbor, they got young kids, and he was from home a lot. He's like, yeah, it's a challenge. The parents were over a lot. They're lucky they had that support,
right?
You know, but what do you do if you don't have that support? Right. What do you? It's changed. It's changed everything. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So, you know, I've always said, it's funny you mentioned how as the pandemic hit you, I'm constantly trying to have a more humble slice of pie, so to speak, and it's ongoing constantly. You know, is just to try to be more humble, try to be more appreciative, try to say those extra little things when you normally wouldn't say it. Call somebody up out of the blue that, hey, quite frankly, wasn't expecting a phone call.
Right.
Just to check in. You know, I try to do that definitely on a weekly basis, because I feel better about it. Right. You know, I feel better, even if it's, I don't know if you're a coffee drinker or not. We 9 times out of 10 make it at home and then use a French press, but every once in a while, if for some reason we don't make it, I need my fix in the morning. You know, so I'll run to Dunkin' after I drop the kids off at school or whatever, and every once in a while I'll peek who's behind me and just buy that person. I'm like, you just buy their coffee just because. Why not? You know, it's like, you know, why not? There's still there's a lot of good people out there. There's a lot of good people out there. You know, my neighbor, she I'll just go to her driveway. She's going through a time right now, unfortunately, and say, you know, I don't have to. I'm doing it because I want to. There's a difference.
Right.
It's not like you're out here pouring me with a shit. Like, I'm doing it because I want to. There's still a lot of good people out there that do a lot of good things. Unfortunately, we don't hear about it. We only hear the bad.
Because that's what sells.
And like you, that's why I've tuned. Even in the beginning of COVID, I can't watch this anymore.
Right.
You know, I'm done.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, totally. I hope we can do this. I hope we can do this again, because we could talk for hours.
I love putting a little bit of positivity out there. I mean, just, like you said, buying a little coffee for somebody behind you, or you know, every little bit. Like I run, and it's funny. My cousin's husband at the time, way back, I had just started running. He happened to drive by me. He's like, "Oh, I was gonna stop and say hi to Ben," but he looks so miserable running.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I'm like, okay. Car comes by, smile on your face, wave. Like be disciplined about it. Put some positivity out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's an old guy up the road, and he was doing it back when you lived here. If you go by him and he's walking, he waves.
Oh, yes, he lives right down here, the red farm type house.
Is that way? But
I'm sorry. Yes. I don't know.
Yeah.
No matter every single
mechanical,
time. Yes,
he's still doing it.
I love it.
I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do that. And it's funny. My cousin who runs in Portland. He's like, nobody waves or says hi in Portland. It's such a different. He goes, it's such a different kind of attitude.
It is.
But let me ask you. So what gives you hope for the future?
Pertaining to just like in general, anything.
What do you?
You know, it's funny when
do you think of yourself as a positive person?
Yes, no, I do. I definitely think of myself as a positive person.
I'm that one. It's my cousin who I talk about. He's the opposite of me. He thinks he's negative. He thinks people are generally negative. I think the world's I believe in people. I'm probably too trusting.
Right.
But,
right. Well, I think like I can get into my negative moments. We all can. I
Absolutely.
think we can have a tendencies to focus on the negatives instead of the positives. My work has helped me tremendously. My significant other has helped me tremendously. Is just to try to realize more things on the positive and not wait. So I may not agree with all these political views and this and that, but I can't change it.
Right.
It's not. I got one tiny little vote, and it's out of my control.
Right.
I hate to say it. You can do more. No, for me, I can't. So I can't. And for me, what gives me hope for the future is my family and the life I'm beginning and the life that we can have after and the good life that we have now, and trying to spark that, like trying to find that balance.
Yeah.
God forbid nothing happens to any of us health wise, like a random heart attack or a freak accident, or you know what I mean. So I think what gives me hope for the future is just to keep doing what I feel is right and just keep learning.
Right.
And I always felt that if you constantly try to do the right thing and be a positive person, that good things are going to happen to you. Now, bad things happen to good people all the time.
Absolutely.
All the time, too. I believe in, karma, but I think if you're genuinely just trying to be a good person, I don't know what you believe in. I don't know. Everyone believes in something. Some people don't. Whatever.
Right.
But I believe that there's somebody watching over all of us, and that if you're a good person, hopefully good things will happen. And unfortunately, bad things happen to good people. Hopefully, there is some sort of an afterlife for them that they can experience that we may not.
Right.
I never gave that too much thought, but that's what my hope is, that maybe their time's not now, but maybe their time will be after the fact. I don't have the answers for that, and I just want to try to be a better person. I want to succeed. I want to have a good life. I have a fear of, and I'll share it here as a final note. I have a fear of ending up like my father. My father had Alzheimer's early on, like late 60s, early 70s, and I'm like, suppose if that happens to me, and that's selfish. And I'm just like, I work my life, have all and then don't even enjoy it. That's always lingers in the back of my head, and I've been a forgetful person since I was a kid.
Same here.
And my brothers and I, we constantly talk about it. Like how we're questioning each other's memories. Like, you say your memory's bad, I don't remember that. We're always just like going back and forth. But what? Enjoy your time now.
Right.
I guess that's the moral of the story: is enjoy your time now. Somebody had told me, man, what was it? How did it go? It said it's not the what is it? It's not about the amount of years that you have in your life. It's more about the amount of life that you have in your years. I think it's true.
Yeah.
Like it's like if you want personal change, you have to do something about it. Global change, that's a pretty tough feat, and if you want to go after that, hats off to you. That's just not in my arsenal right now. Yeah. It's not. But personal change, personal growth, like you said earlier, we can control our happiness, and I want to be happy.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. Like, what is success? What do I want?
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount. I want to earn a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
So I can be comfortable. And
Of course.
But how many happy days you have? How many, like, literally what you're saying is how it's like, how much enjoyment can I get out of my life and enjoy it for as long as I can?
Yeah.
Which is a big motivator for the things I do. I think about, like, COVID hits, and even when we didn't know stuff about what the virus does, any disease comes through.
Yeah.
Being healthier, having a better meat body,
Absolutely.
is gonna help you.
Of course.
I don't know of any diseases that being healthier.
Exercise can kill disease.
And now that we know how much it's hit, overweight, it's like maybe we can turn the corner and start getting healthier as a society, as a globe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I often wonder how you see people that are really heavy. It's like man, if they knew how good it feels to be healthy.
I know.
Or even on that path. There was the guy that, I don't know if you saw the movie Remember the Titans, the football movie, but there's a big lineman guy that was in the movie, and he was quite huge.
Yeah.
And he's lost a ton of weight, shredded now.
Yeah, yeah.
And he goes, I started just walking around my car, 1 lap around my car.
Yeah.
And that's where it started. Then it was 2 laps around my car.
Yeah.
I mean, it just takes a little positive momentum.
Well, and to feel that, and my brother was diagnosed with pre-diabetes. He's always been big. We're Italian, like to eat. And that was his flip. No, he's not in medicine anymore. Lost a ton of weight, and just changed his lifestyle. And I think everyone, has that, but a lot of people, unfortunately, too, around here, they just get stuck in that rut of eating bad. It's not feel good food, but it's feel good food to you, like, cause it's to them
pleasure.
It's mouth pleasure. And there's two sides, right? It's like, well, we shouldn't have a lot of these foods. We shouldn't, but it's like we can't contradict when and where we want the government to get involved, because at one token we're saying this, and at another token we're saying that. So I could argue, if I want to eat like crap, let me. I don't want you to control what I put in my mouth.
Right.
Now, I will agree, why are there certain foods that we have in the U.S. that are banned in so many other countries?
Right.
Yes, please get involved. I would. Like, these other countries are doing it. I'm okay if you ban Cheez-Its or this other... please do. If other countries are doing it, look at that. But, again, it's the money, the politics. It's not going to happen. And it'll come back to, well, you don't have to eat that.
I'm amazed if I have a week... like a cheat week, and I wouldn't say I schedule a cheat week, but I have a week where I'm not locked in.
Yeah,
I feel there's a huge difference.
Huge difference.
And if I have a week, so I've done like a 5-day fast. Best feeling 5 days ever.
Have you really?
Yeah.
All right, you need to tell me about that before I leave.
Yeah.
No, I've been really doing a lot of research on these fasts.
I started messing around that same podcast with my cousin where he's like, do you know about ultra running? He goes, I'm interested in doing like fasting and like 3-day, 5-day, and beyond. And I'm like, wonder what that'd be like. So I've been doing intermittent fasting here and there, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great idea.
So basically, the whole 16 hours, not going to eat past a certain time.
Yeah, I wouldn't. After lunch, let's say 1 o'clock, I'd eat. So 1 to 6, and then it was 3 to 6, and then it would be. And I kept toying around with that and seeing how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And part of this too, for me, for marathons, or even the Ironman, you can't digest enough food to carry you through that distance.
Right.
You're going to be at negative calories.
Yeah.
So you need your body to be running on fat. You need your body to be efficient at burning fat as a fuel. So fasting kind of helps get your body, and I played around with some keto stuff.
Yeah.
So getting onto fats and being more efficient on fats, and getting my body used to that.
Okay.
So I tried a 3-day fast, and I basically was really light exercise in those 3 days. And it was.
So are you having just water?
Yeah, with electrolytes. Yeah, that's it. And
any specific type of electrolytes?
So actually, those 3 are yours.
Okay.
So this is a brand I found.
Yeah.
My little goodie bag.
Thank you.
So it's I've been one of those, like, I don't want sugar, but I don't want artificial sweeteners. And that's naturally flavored with no sugar and no artificial sweeteners.
Okay.
So those 3 are for you to try.
I will.
They gave me some free samples because I did a review of their product. And
okay.
I'm like, oh,
yeah, you mentioned that a couple of times that you're reviewing some products and
just things that I had good luck with, and I'm like, why not share?
Yeah.
But so I did the 3-day fast, and once I was locked into the first day, you're hungry, your belly's growling, and then the next 2 days was like, I was just locked in.
Really? No grogginess, no fatigue,
opposite of that.
Really?
So then I did another 3-day fast, and I'm like, I'm gonna exercise like crazy. I'm gonna do my normal, full on. Felt great. I got through it.
Interesting.
And I heard there's a guy.
Weight loss during this fast?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever jumped on a scale.
Okay.
I'm sure I did lose some.
Sure.
I heard a podcaster, Lex Friedman, that I listen to here and there, and whenever he's gonna go out to dinner, he fasts that day, and goes out to dinner, because that meal after 3 days, I don't care if you have a McDonald's hamburger, it's the best thing you've ever had.
Of course it is. Of course it is. It could be a.
You make.
Of course.
It's the contrast of the restricting and then that gift afterwards. So then I'm like, okay, let's try a 5. Let's try 5. And up until day 5, I felt fine. I mean, there's like when I go for a run, the speed's not there. You know, I'm not top end. You know, I'm definitely a little weaker.
Yeah.
But I still have the energy. It's amazing how good I feel.
Interesting.
It was. I mean, that was a challenge. 3, 4, 5, and people are eating around you.
Of course.
I'll be at work, right, and I'll be fantasizing like food images and going like daydreaming, and I'm just
I did a juice cleanse. Yes.
I've done the juice thing too.
Yeah.
That was its own challenge, but it was really cool to play around with. And the thing that I find most interesting is what are my wants and what are my needs? What do I actually? I think I'll have a bowl of cereal, and 20 minutes later I'm like, I need something.
Yeah.
You know, I'm starting to jones for food. It's just sugar rush. It's just my body wants sugar.
Right.
But now I can go. I've gone 5 days without food. I don't need that. Like I know that's
great. That's great.
So that was kind of cool.
I was thinking about I was thinking about just doing another fast. I get through weird modes. I'm like, all right, I need to jumpstart my system. I want to lose a little bit of weight, and so I've been toggling when I can't sleep at night about different fasts, and
it's worth it to try just to know what your body feels like.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think I'll probably do 5 again. I'll probably 3s are nice though.
Yeah.
And even just a day 2. It's just.
Now, do you drink coffee at all, Ben?
I'm not a coffee.
You're not a coffee drinker.
I do more tea.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I.
Did you still have tea, or no? Or you just stuck with
I
water?
usually would have tea, but I have decaffeinated tea.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm not getting any calories out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've tried to I used to be a big time Diet Coke drinker, and I quit caffeine.
Okay.
Which was a challenge.
But how did you feel after you quit the caffeine?
I don't feel like it. So now the real reason I was quitting was like, if I don't have caffeine and then I take it during a race, now it's actually a performance enhancer.
Gotcha.
Because my body isn't used to it. It's like boom, it's just so that was kind of like a strategy almost.
Sure.
It took a little while to get past the headaches and my body craving caffeine.
Yeah.
It was a really cool experience. I would recommend it to anybody.
Yeah.
I love the mental challenge of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a lot of what I'm attracted to. Is the mind game.
Can I do this?
Yeah.
My mind's playing tricks on me.
Am I stronger than my cravings?
Right.
What's really controlling me?
Yeah.
Kinds of things.
No, it's true, because that third day, this was an award. This was a juice, and same thing. Dreaming about food, and I've done this a couple of times, and I remember.
How long have you gone on a juice?
3. And I remember the second time I did this one, I'm like, this is stupid, but I had a point that's way up north, and I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this while I'm up here. Like, I should be doing this at home. And I'm on day 3 in my hotel. I'm just like, I'm starving. I'm just starving. I'm like, just go to sleep. Finally, this is so bad. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm done. I'm over. So I'm in Presque Isle, Maine, staying at the Hampton Inn. There's a 24-hour Tim Hortons. I went right across that street. I got a bagel, and I'm like, oh, this is heaven.
Just to chew something.
I mean, it was just heavenly. It could have been anything.
Right.
It could have been cardboard made with peanut butter. But to your point, like the dream, and I'm just like, I go in dark, literally, and I'm like, but fell asleep, and then I woke up again at 3 o'clock. I'm like, it's over. I'm done.
Do you ever see Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead?
No, I've heard about it.
It was a juicing thing that guy did, and I tried to do a 10-day juice. I think I made it 7 or 8. But it was
dedication.
It was. I remember one day I was teaching in Bucksport, and I brought the prep for juicing.
Yeah.
You had to.
It's a lot.
You get your fruit and chop them up and get them in the juicer and get in the veggies and everything.
Yeah.
So I'd make my 3 juices or 2 juices that I bring. One for when I got to school, one at lunch, or whatever it was. And I had done ginger that day, and way too much ginger.
Okay.
and it was so repugnant. It
Yeah.
was so
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, how am I ever gonna survive this day? I'm trying to get it down, and it's just
Not happening.
oh, it was brutal.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
you know, I'd be so hungry. I'd literally be shaking.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
that was hard. That was harder than the 5-day fast.
Yeah.
Because once there is a point, I think, after the first day where your body's just like, okay, this, like, I think our bodies are designed to do it. You know, back years ago when we were hunters and gatherers, our ancestors went days without food.
Right.
And then they get a kill or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're designed for it because it's amazing how locked in you feel, mental clarity.
Yeah.
Except for the distractions of food when your mind wanders.
Well, and that, you know, and that's, you know, and that's what it is. So maybe, you know, when we do another podcast, I'll tell you about which fasting experience I have and tell you all about it. But yeah, I gotta get going. But yeah, we need to do this again. I've learned a lot about you in a short amount of time. So
can I tell you one quick thing?
Yeah.
So, because I have a challenge to myself on every one of these podcasts to do my hope for the future.
Yeah.
And do it different in each one. So I'm on 8 or 9 now.
Yeah.
So that officer that took the dog.
Yeah.
I mean, police officers are getting a hard rap right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He was such a class act, so apologetic, so human, so you know, it was an emotional situation. It's his dog he loves, you know, and he would just couldn't have handled it better. And and then he came to my house. His wife made me cookies.
Yeah.
You know, just knowing that somebody out there, the picture I want out of an officer and the way he handled the situation.
Yeah, that's
he knew
nice to
in a
hear.
stressful situation what to do, how to. It just gives me hope that there's guys like that out there.
There are.
You know, and so I just want to squeeze that in.
No, I'm glad that you. I'm glad that you did, and I'll just circle back to what we were talking about earlier. That there's good people out there. Like and you're one of them. You know,
I think people generally are good.
Yeah, I think
it's easy to sit behind a computer and say some negative thoughts, and then let that get to you and respond.
Yeah.
But face to face.
Yeah.
I think most people want to be nice, and
they do.
Now how they go about that might not be the best ways.
Right.
But
yeah. No, I think you do, and I commend you for doing this. I didn't know what this was gonna be like. I'm just like, all right, let's just have at it, and just judging. By this now, we could get on a routine with these things and just think of some random subjects and just have at it.
And just so you know, like you said that comes up, I absolutely want to do this again. For sure.
Yeah, no, I say let's do it.
I have a list here, we didn't get to any.
That's probably a good thing or a bad thing.
No, that's a really good thing. And I appreciate you coming and taking a shot with this with me. I love. Like so much of this COVID stuff, we've been sheltered into our bubbles, and I feel my bubble shrinking. And it's like, and this is kind of my way of like, no, let's grow my bubble.
Yeah.
And I'm pumped to know you better.
Likewise, man. This could turn into who knows what, and another guest. And I know obviously a lot of athletes as well, and Ironman and people that have done like Placid. And
you should even consider doing one of these.
I know it's just making me. It's like the whole thing is just.
I mean, it started with. I mean, literally, the GoPro can do it all. I got a $30, maybe a $40 mic on Amazon. And a laptop.
Yeah, that's crazy, and that just automatically feeds it right into your computer, huh?
Actually, no, it's recording on the GoPro.
Oh, okay.
I upload it, but like I was doing it in my garage at first, which was awesome, but then it got cold.
Yeah.
And then this is
cool.
The lights came. The last one I did, those were like $30 on Amazon.
Yeah,
it's like it's not an expensive setup.
It's cool, man.
It's cool to get to know people.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do you sit down for 2 hours and talk to somebody?
Randomly. We haven't spoken for more than 15 minutes in the past 8 years.
Of your conversations you have with people out there, how often do you get to sit down and actually talk to somebody without a cell phone in between? And it's 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here.
Oh, it's true. It is true. Uninterrupted, and we'll definitely do this again and pick a topic or just. I mean, you have some things there that. Let's do it again, man. Seriously.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. This was awesome. I